Hi, I'm Phil Coley and you join me here in the studio just doing a couple of podcasts and a few other things. But what I thought I would share with you, I wanted to share a mini course with you, particularly if you are a startup. Lots of people say, well, if I start a business, what are the things I should be doing from a sales and marketing perspective? And what are the things I can do from a really cost-effective perspective? And what we have to remember with so many startups around the world is you don't always have that amount of money that you need to really invest. You do need to think about that, but there are some quick wins that you can do that are really cost-effective to get you going. So what I thought I'd do is I would go through my checklist. I only really share this when I do one-to-one work, but actually I thought I would share it with you today. So if you are a startup, this is especially for you. So let's run through some of the things you should have. B2C, B2B, these are things you can take advantage of. And as I go through each bit, I'll just give you a little tip on how to use it. Should you use it, yes or no, for the particular type of business or sector you are in. And then here are some of the things to think about. So number one, make sure you have a name. Now, so many people, when they have a name, they come up with some weird and wonderful name, which they think is amazing. Now, unless you're going to become like Virgin or you're going to become like Apple, then actually, is it really relevant? Now, lots of people will kick back against that and say yes or no. Now, for me, there are two things you need in terms of your name. Yes, have the name of your company. Please say what it does. So if you're a florist, why can't it be Apple Blossom Florist? Why not? There you go. You could have something like that. But equally as well, today so many of us are our personal brand, particularly if you are a sole trader or a solopreneur. And if you are one of those, then why don't you use your name? Now, of course, in terms of that, some people might already have your domain name, but why don't you have a look at what you can get, even if it's got a hyphen in the middle of it, and also maybe put on the end. So for me, I have Phil-Coley because an American country western singer has got Phil Coley. But outside of that, I've also got Phil Coley Coaching as well, because that's what I do. I'm a sales coach. So when you think about that, think about the name that has some relevance, some weird and wonderful Latin name or whatever. Does it really have relevance? Does it have relevance to your audience? And do people quickly know what you do? And if the answer is no, then don't use that name. Alongside that, make sure you actually own the domain and make sure your email address is not a Gmail, not a Hotmail. Make sure it's at the name of your domain and your name. Make sure it's that, please, because it has relevance. It has credibility on top. Also, think about telephone numbers. In today's age, it's very easy to get ourselves wrapped up in mobile numbers. But if you go onto a website and it's only got a mobile number, then actually go, it's a smaller company. Does it create the right impression? Will they answer my phone? Is somebody going to be there? So why don't you get a landline number or a free phone number or something similar to that? In this day and age, you can get voice over IP numbers and they really don't cost very much at all per month. Some of them you can actually get a sort of phone system, but you can get a phone system with a landline and with voicemail, etc., for anything around £5, €5, $10, $5. There are lots of options there that can be used. So think about getting that phone number. You can, of course, attach it to your mobile phone. It just adds a level of credibility to your business. What you can also then look at as well is you can look at what we all have known as Google My Business. So when you put something in and it will bring up a business listing and there we go, it says about the website, your opening times, your hours. You can claim that and make sure you have one for your company. Now some people say, well, I work from home, I don't really want to share my home address. Fine, get that. You could look at a virtual address and you can do exactly the same thing in terms of that. And there are lots of places around the world where you can have virtual addresses, and there are also little quick ways around that as well, but you can make sure you are located in your town, village, city, wherever you happen to be, or the closest one to you, you can set that up. Now also in terms of claiming your brand and your name, make sure, and particularly if you're B2C and B2B, make sure you have a LinkedIn profile and also make sure you have a LinkedIn company page. Even if it is your name, so you have your personal profile and then alongside that you have the profile that is for your business, even if it's the same name. The reasons around that is, one, you're adding that credibility for your company, so you're creating a very active company page, and you would then share to your personal page from there. And of course you can share personal things on your personal profile on LinkedIn. But also alongside that, by having a company page, then others can share the company page of the activity that's on there. And that's what LinkedIn really likes. Its algorithm likes people to share company pages, because LinkedIn has grown from recruiter status now very much to being a business platform. But when I talk about it being a business platform, do remember all of us who are on LinkedIn, so every person on LinkedIn is also a consumer. And that's why I say make sure, if you are B2C, that you have a profile on there. I have a number of clients who are in the B2C space and they sell through LinkedIn. Alongside that, when you look at social media channels, and I always put LinkedIn to its side, I don't necessarily say it is a social media channel, it is a business network that does have social things on there as well. But if we look at the other common social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if you look at those as a whole, you might be looking to use those. Only use them if they're applicable to what you do. Particularly with Instagram, it is a very visual thing. Of course, you can use it for B2C and B2B, but you need to be a little bit more imaginative, sometimes in terms of getting good images. Also, when you look at Facebook, is Facebook right for you? Yes or no? And you need to think about that as well. Some companies go, we wouldn't use Facebook. Sometimes you would use it maybe for recruitment or reaching out to special interest groups. But you can use it and it should be there to use. Twitter, there's an up and down with Twitter, but Twitter is really easy to connect with people, particularly when you know who they are and they are on Twitter, so you can link out to those people as well. And then we get onto the subject of TikTok. You know, for me right now, as we look in the latter part of 2022, TikTok is definitely riding a crest of a wave. It has amazing organic reach as well, and it's not all about singing and dancing. Yes, it is about video content, but for me, I'm on TikTok, get really good views on there, and I'm sharing the kind of things I'm sharing today. So I'm doing no singing, dancing, I can assure you of that. But it's definitely something for you to look at. Do remember that YouTube is both a search engine, but it's also socials to a point. But the key things that people will use YouTube for, there are three things. It's information, education, or entertainment, or a combination of those. So think about that. When you go onto Google something, and Google owns YouTube, then YouTube will be shown. It will be shown in those Google searches, as I said, because it owns it, but also because people reach out for information in different ways, and education, and of course entertainment as well. And when you look at YouTube, YouTube's there, free to use. What information can you share on there that is important? You should also look at podcasts. Can you use podcasts? Podcasts really easy to do in this day and age. You can video it, and you can strip out the audio, or you can do a vlog stroke podcast as well, utilizing it both, because content really is king, and then you can put it up onto different platforms. Really good one that you could use is Anchor, free to use, great to be able to do it, and you can then put it across the multiple platforms through using Anchor. So I'm hoping what you can see already, and I'm going to dive into a few other things in a moment, but from a social media perspective, you can get up and running really quickly. And then people say about, well, how do I get the audience? Because of course you can do wonderful posts, and there are great people out there saying do this with this post and that with that post. You're going to get so much more engagement. If you haven't got an audience, what's the use of the engagement? So from an audience perspective, you can use LinkedIn to reach out to people, and there are specific steps that you can look at. And I have another course on how to do your steps to engagement on LinkedIn. But also alongside that, just reach out to people you know, people you used to work with. Just start to build a network slowly but surely. And there's a real fine line between quality and quantity. When you first start out, you probably have to go down the quantity route, and then you start to look at the quality, because you're starting to get out there. The same with Facebook, you can start to build. What I say with Facebook is very much the same as I say with LinkedIn. Get a company page on Facebook as well that you can set up. Keeps it away from your personal side, and you can build that brand as well. Yes, you can spend money with Facebook and the ads, and you can boost posts. I'm not a big advocate of boosting posts on Facebook, but you can use it to be able to do that. So again, think of that as a company page. But you need to be thinking of your branding, you need to be thinking of what you're doing, but there's so much there is available for free. I've given you that information that you can quickly start to build things. Make sure in terms of it you just look a little bit more carefully on your name, on colours where you can, a bit of brand. Yes, there are cheaper options, but of course you can use graphic designers to be able to help you as well. But don't spend a huge amount of money when you're first starting out. You want to create some noise. You want to show the product that you've got and to be able to take it from there. So you've got all of these great things available to you now. Sort of 10, 15, 20 years ago, they just weren't available to you. There's so many free things available, and content is key. So the content is you need to be pushing out to people in terms of what's the benefit of what you do. And that can be in the flavour of words. It can also be in the flavour of images and video and sharing information. A lot of people will try to say to you, you need to have ClickFunnels. You need to have a way that you get somebody's email address and you pull them in and go from that. Now, that's been really common over the last 3 to 5 years and a little bit before, but it's been a real strength in those times. It's waning a little bit now, and you need to be really wary when you're getting people's email addresses, because they'll be like, oh, something else I've got to sign up for. So also think about the kind of information that you can give away for free, which is not necessarily the magic, but it's some of the magic, because then people know that you're an expert. They also know that you are the authority on the subject and you're not shy about talking about it. And for some of us, we're not able to do that, and some people can't sit in front of camera, but many of us can just get a recorder on our phone and just chat away, and you'll be amazed with yourself at how much content is there. So think about that as well as when you're sharing it. So maybe as a florist, you might want to be able to say, these are the colours that for weddings are ideal colours, or these colours for a winter celebration would be well, and actually show putting some floral arrangement together. You could be an engineering firm, and actually your machine makes things quicker, easier, more efficient. You might actually want to show the machine in process, and you actually might want to give 3 or 4 ideas about how you can make the machine better, how you can make your tools better, whatever it happens to be. There are lots of ways of doing it. It's the same with mechanics. You can show how to change something on a car that makes a difference. You could even be somebody who does graphic design, and you could show the difference between a good logo and a bad logo and colours and talk about that. So you're giving away some of your expertise, but actually you're giving away your authority on that subject as well, and people go, oh wow, you know what you're on. And that's what people want to do. They want to buy with some trust and some element. And you have to think about sales in terms of that. It's a bit like a dating game. You have to get to know somebody, and sometimes it's not just necessarily just talking to them, it's looking at their social media, what's going on. I like that person, because people buy from people, and I'll never shy away from saying that, because it is so true. So when you're starting your business, and yes, you might want to look at my 7 steps program about your product and go through those, but what I'm really thinking about here is, if you're thinking of starting your business, get your social media channels right, get a website, get your domain, get your emails, think about phone numbers. You can actually spend a little bit of money, not a lot of money, in getting those things together. It's an investment in time. And for me, get those bits right. And yes, you can look into your products, and you can look at your competitors, and you can think of your pricing, do all of those things, but you need to be active. And people today forget that 20 years ago, if you wanted to launch a business, you'd have to spend a lot of money on advertising. You'd have to advertise in the local papers and the magazines, and you'd never know if it would work. Maybe some of it would, maybe some of it wouldn't. You'd have to look at PR. You'd have to try to maybe get on the radio if you could. That'd be amazing if you could. Today, you can be on the TV. You can be on the radio within seconds on your own by posting it out there. And one of the other key things to think about is when you're targeting your prospects. Some of us will never want, well, maybe a few people will want millions of customers and want to rule the world. Amazing. There's only a small percentage of people who actually do that, and I'm not saying away, and I'm definitely not shying away from thinking big, but it's also being realistic. Do you want a business that's turning over 400 million and you have the headaches of that? Do you want to think about what that journey is going to be to get there? Or do you want to be having a company that turns over 40,000, whatever it is, a year, 100,000, 200,000, but you have that work-life balance? Or do you want to be turning over 2 or 3 million, whatever it is, each year, and have 3 or 4 staff and build from there? So think about where you want to go, and when you think about that, then your targets will be going. If you're a particular type of company with a higher ticket item, you might go, there's only 20 people I actually want to sell to. Don't know who the 20 people are, but I know which pond they're going to be in. So try and then actually say, right, well, I'm going to work on targeting 20 people. How many people can I get out of that one? 3 or 4. Go to another 20 people, another 3 or 4, and build it that way. So be sensible how you build it in terms of quality over quantity. And of course, if you're in consumer, you will have a lot of competitors, but you need to get into that crowded marketplace. So you need to look a bit different. You need to be you, entirely authentic to who you are, but you can actually use the channels to create what's going on. People love content. And when we talk about content, the one thing I would really advise you is don't give up early. Too many people will do a month of social media, go, it hasn't really worked, not had much engagement this. It takes a good 3 to 4 months to be able to build it, to talk to people, to thank people for liking your posts, for people who've commented to comment back. It all takes time, but that is an investment of time, which is the same as investing money. So if you think about it in that way, the more investment you put into the content, the more investment you are putting monetary into your business, and you will get the return. But you need to have the strategy around it. You also need to think about your sales process. And for me, I'm not going to go massive into sales process because I'll do a separate course on this one. But what I do want you to think about is I want you to think about, right, when I reach out to somebody and they reach into me, how am I going to talk to them? What am I going to do? How am I going to help them to buy from me? What are those key things? So I want you to think about that really strongly, and I want you to think about what is the best way for you to be able to do it. And also, just one final thing is, I want you to think about if you were sat next to somebody at a dinner party and they said, Phil, what do you do? I want you to think of what's called a benefit statement, where you have that one-liner. It's not an elevator pitch. It's just I'm this and I do that, and it helps people to achieve this. So think about that. I'll share that more with you in coming weeks on benefit statements. But if you're starting out your business, these are some really key tips that you can do that are fresh from me. Here I am in the studio, just sharing them with you. Go on to my website. You know there's lots of free content on there, lots of free courses. You don't have to sign up to anything. I'm never going to bombard you with emails, but it's there to be able to help you. And when you're ready, why don't you reach out? Let's have a chat. Let's get you onto the 7 steps. You can have a personal invite me to the 7-step sales program. 2 hours working with me, guaranteed to make a difference. And actually, if you drop me a DM, I'll give you an invite for free. Hope you've enjoyed it, and remember to come back for more courses.